Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. My name is Debra. Really pleased to be here today. This is my group coaching community check-in. It is we are at the end of the first week of Healthier and Happier in Six, which is a 6-week group coaching program to help women build the habits and behaviors to support their goals, improve their health, lose weight, whatever it is that they have as an individual goal. I have designed their coaching to work towards the goal that they're having. We're not going to this isn't a quick fix, but we are building the habits and the behaviors to make progress towards that goal and enjoy the process and ultimately feel good along the way. Now, I just want to, before I get stuck in, say to everyone, I'm recovering from a cold and I'm going to really do my best not to sniff and cough my way through this podcast. And if I do, I'm apologizing in advance. Now, the way that I host these podcast episodes is I talk about some of my client wins. I talk about some of the challenges, and a lot of these challenges may be things that you resonate with and can help you if you're not a coaching client, but you're, wanting to lose weight and improve your health and the way that you feel. There may be challenges that you can relate to and that you will find helpful. And obviously, to my coaching community, this check-in feedback is designed to support you and address some of the areas that you've brought up in your check-in form. Now, I like to start off with talking about wins because it's really important to celebrate what you've done well and to recognize that rather than always being very hard on ourselves and negative on ourselves, which is not uncommon. And celebrating your wins is very important in recognizing what you do well. They're like the small stepping stones to getting closer and making progress to the goals that you have. Now, for Ellie, her wins this week is that she got her steps in at the weekend. She's been working away all week, but she's got her steps in at the weekend. And up until the weekend, her steps had been really low. But rather than thinking, oh, sod it, because she'd not hit her target during the week, she actually put effort in at the weekend to bump her steps up. And really big win, Ellie, because it is really common, and you might find this with yourself, that if you can't do something in a way that you had intended, it's really easy to just think, well, I'm not going to bother at all, as opposed to thinking, you know what, I'm going to do the best that I can because something is always better than nothing. And this is the approach that Ellie has taken, which is really good. Her other win is going swimming. She didn't fancy it, but she ended up getting 20 minutes of non-stop swimming lengths while her daughter had a swimming lesson. Great use of time, Ellie, rather than just sitting on the side. You got your swimming in. You did it when you didn't want to feel. When you did it when you didn't feel like it, and I bet that you felt really accomplished for achieving it and for doing it. So well done to you. Now, Lynn has really focused on eating healthy, making nutrition choices that aligned with her goal. She's been able to do this for Monday to Thursday. She's been away from Friday, and I am going to come on to that. But I know for Lynn that tracking her food as consistently as she's been able to and making choices that support her goal has been a big deal. So a really huge well done to you. And you're feeling better for it, and you're also feeling motivated. And what's really important to highlight is and I'm going to come on to this in greater detail later in the podcast, but rather than focusing on what's happening with your scales, because it's only been a week, it's a very short space of time. And sometimes the scales don't always accurately represent what's happening in terms of body fat loss. It's a very short space of time. And usually what happens is we look at the scales and how they trend over time. The other important thing to remember is to keep focusing on your actions, and your actions are the things that you need to do to support the way that you feel, improve your health, and make progress to your goal. You can't just worry about the scales and not do your actions, because the scales aren't going to, your scales represent the actions that you take. So focus more on ticking off all your actions, getting them all done, and then the scales will start to represent those changes that are happening in your health and your weight loss as a result of completing and doing those actions as consistently as possible. Kim's wins are, she has managed to get 2 gym workouts in and 1 run. So well done. And obviously, let me know how your gym workouts are going, making sure that you record the data from your workouts, which you can do on the app. You can, on the coaching app, you can record the number of reps you do, the amount of weight you're lifting, and you can use this in each workout to know where you were from the last workout, and using that as a bit of a benchmark. Your energy levels may fluctuate week to week, so it's not always necessarily as increasing from the week you did previous, but just having an idea of what you're capable of, and then deciding based on the amount of energy that you feel. And this can fluctuate, for hormonal reasons, whether you've had good sleep quality and other things that go on in your life that may impact your energy. Is just making sure that you do the best you can within each workout. But well done for getting those done. Now, Jo has been really unwell. She's been off work, and she has had a really bad bout of the flu. And she's really pleased that even though she's been unwell, she has really tried to be mindful with her nutrition choices. And in her words, she hasn't been binging on sugar and carbs alone. I use the word binging just because that's the word Jo used. But obviously, what I think you're referring to here, Jo, is more about overeating on sugary and carbohydrate high foods. Obviously, all foods can be included in a balanced diet. We obviously want to try to support you getting better and getting well. And it's always about thinking about nourishment and giving your body the foods that are going to be very wholesome and going to support you in getting well again, and also feeling good. A lot of the foods and the different types of foods that we eat can affect the way that we feel. And obviously, you want to feel as well as possible. So, really sticking to those whole food choices. And now that you're feeling better, obviously trying to prioritize protein at each meal and adding plenty of veg and fruit. Now, let's talk about some of the challenges. So, Ellie's, like I've mentioned already, has been working away this week. She's had lots of socials as well, and it's meant that she's drunk more regularly than she would have done. Now, when she returned home from being away, she didn't get straight back onto it. She continued drinking more than usual over the weekend when she's got home. Now, she's recognized this, and she has already recognized that she would plan a little bit better. Now, I want to just talk about working away, because I've had another client who's also had a round trip to Dubai in a few days, like from Friday to Sunday. So I want to talk about being away, because being away means that you're not in your usual routine. You're not preparing the meals that you would likely have when you're at home. You have a less control over the food choices that you're having, depending obviously if you're eating out, you're staying in hotels, etc. Now, firstly, you can't control everything when you're away. You don't have that level of control. You're not in your usual routine or environment. So we have to be open to that. But also, the focus is on controlling what you can and not what you can't. So in terms of drinking and alcohol when you're away, and I understand that in a work environment, some of that is to feel included if you're socializing with your colleagues in the evening, and wanting to participate, and maybe to some degree the expectation from others. But what I always talk about, and what is really important, is the importance of planning and thinking about how you want to show up at the event or the occasion or being away. What kind of approach is it that you want to take? And the more you can think about that, the more you can write yourself a plan and what that plan will look like. And it might mean that you break down each day. It might mean that you break down each social, because one social might be more important that you drink at than another, and another may be not so important and you may not need to drink at that event. So really thinking about how your time away is going to look like. And you can do this for social occasions as well. But one thing that you can worry about is what you can control. You can control um, the choice of food you're making. You can try and make smarter choices whilst you're away. You can think about your portion size. You can tune in to the amount that you're eating and recognizing when you're reaching that 75 to 80% fullness and stopping at mild fullness. These are things that you can control, and no one need know that you're even doing it. But it is also really important, in the same way, Ellie, that you got your steps in at the weekend and you resumed doing your normal steps as much as possible. You didn't give up on those. I would encourage you to have the same approach with getting back to your nutrition, and also, alcohol and things like that, is getting back to it and not letting it carry on, because it's not the time away that ruins your progress. It's your lack of ability to get straight back to your normal routine once you return. It's those days that keep going over and over from when you return that can ruin your progress. So my advice to you and anyone listening is to get back to your usual routine as soon as possible, as straight away, ideally. And this does take planning and thinking and reflecting and setting those intentions and being really intentional. Now, Ellie mentions that she thinks that she needs to have more willpower. And I have already discussed this on our group chat, but we want to leave as little to willpower as possible, because it's not necessarily about willpower, because we're human, right? And we all make mistakes. We all sometimes eat a little too much, drink a little too much. We're human beings, and sometimes we do get swept away in the situation. And, we're human. We make mistakes sometimes. We won't always get things right, and that's okay. But if we're working towards a goal and our goal matters to us, and we really want to come back from where it is that we've been, or a meal out, or whatever the social is, or the holiday, or the time away, the working trip away, is remembering what your values are. Your health is one of your top values. It's why you're in group coaching, is reminding yourself of that value, reminding yourself what's important to you, and setting a plan, and really being detailed and specific with your plan, setting yourself realistic expectations so that you can achieve them, and learning to build self-trust. And it will take time and you will make mistakes. But as you get things right and you prove to yourself that you can do what you set out to do, it will help you build that self-trust. And when you start to build that self-trust, you don't need to rely on willpower. Your planning and all the intentions that you set, and that self-trust that increases over time from getting things right, will enable you to carry on and be more consistent with acting in a way that aligns with those goals that you have and that matter to you. Now, you're away again this week, so take on board all my feedback, apply it, and I look forward to seeing how you get on. Now, Lynn, who's been on a round trip to Dubai, she's done it in a few days. She's been as mindful as she can. She's said she chose as wisely as possible. And this is really good. Just remember to tune into those feelings of fullness. And like I said earlier, stopping at that 75 to 85% full, which is a mild fullness, which means you're satiated. Could you eat more? Yeah, probably. But you're going to choose not to, because this is you bearing in mind your goal of weight loss and stopping before you get um, more full, like 100% full. You want to stop just before. You want to leave a little bit of hunger, not like loads, just a little bit of hunger, because that's representing you being in a calorie deficit. Now, if you've been struggling with illness and there is so many colds and flus and things going around at the moment, like Jo, who's completely been knocked sideways from being ill, she's been off work, she's been sleeping a lot of the time. She's also had a reduced appetite, which can happen when you're ill. You know, there's not too much you can do about it. You can only try your best. You can, look at maybe including those foods that you feel like you're craving when you're unwell, and instead of focusing on hitting protein targets, just think of your calorie target as a whole and choosing the foods within that calorie target, but staying somewhere in that calorie target. You've got a range target, so it's not a fixed number, but somewhere in that range, dependent on whether your appetite is low, whether it's getting back to normal, depending how you feel, and you can only do your best. Now that you are beginning to feel better, and I would encourage you to make a gradual return to your usual routine. Start getting out for those walks, planning your meals, getting back to hitting your nutrition targets, prioritizing protein once again at each meal, and adding plenty of veg and fruit to each of your meals. You want to get as many nutrients in your diet as possible to support your recovery. Now, Kim, her challenge has been getting into a routine with her gym, and getting her running. And she already recognizes that she didn't plan, and is going to set an intention to plan her week on a Monday evening. Now, I would encourage you to do this on a weekend, maybe on a Sunday evening, so you can plan your week ahead. I'm thinking you may have said Monday because our check-ins are on a Tuesday, but I would think of your weeks as a Monday to a Sunday as usual, and schedule your week and plan your week in advance, putting in time to do your 3 workouts and your run. Now, your run is something you're doing from choice. And obviously, what I'm looking for at the moment is making sure that you hit your step goal, because when it comes to losing weight, the majority of your expenditure is going to come from your daily movement. And of course, if you want to run, you can absolutely run because you're enjoying it. As long as your intention to run is not to burn calories. And if it is, talk to me about it in the group chat so I can just help and support you with that and explain why we don't want to rely on running as a form of weight loss. And if you've not yet listened to my Energy Balance podcast, it's a really good one to listen to, because I talk about how much exercise, or how little, should I say, exercise contributes to your overall daily calorie expenditure. We want to get those steps in. You are in your step range. Let's try and get you to the upper end of that step range this week. As well as planning your week in advance, it's really good, especially if you lead a busy life where things change, is to just review each day the evening before. And if you need to tweak or change anything, you're able to do that. And rather than sack it off, you can look at rescheduling. Now, the other thing that I really recommend is what I call front loading your week. So rather than leaving things to the end of the week, it's always a good idea to get a workout in as early on in the week as possible. Ideally a Monday, but if not a Monday, as soon as you can in your week, and not leave everything to the end of the week, because sometimes things happen and it affects you. If you're a parent, if you've got a job, you've got commitments, family, etc. Sometimes we're thrown curveballs and it impacts your ability to get done what you want to get done for yourself. So try and get them done as early on in the week as possible. And then it gives you more time at the end of the week, should you need to carry something over. Our topic of the week in Healthier and Happier in 6 was all about the importance of planning and scheduling. And if you haven't listened to that podcast, please do. It's very important. And if you have listened to it, listen to it again, because we can never listen to this information enough. And sometimes it doesn't always resonate with us straight away. And if you're listening to this, you can listen to the Importance of Planning and Scheduling podcast. It's the episode before this one. And planning, you've heard the expression, fail to plan, plan to fail. It's a harsh quote saying, but it is really true. We can't wing it. We lead busy lives. We want to get everything done. We want to do things for ourselves as well as for others. And the more you can plan, the more ability you will have to get those things done. Now, I want to just talk collectively about nutrition and habit-based targets. I've looked over my group coaching clients' food entries or tracking, noticed that some of you haven't been tracking or uploading your food photos consistently. And I do want to encourage this as much as possible, because it benefits you. Now, as well as me being able to overview and preview and look into, some of your food choices and how it's looking, you recording your food intake benefits you, because what it does, no matter the form of recording your food that you're choosing to do as part of group coaching, not all of you are choosing to track using a tracking app. It creates more thought, because you're having to think about what it is that you're going to eat, and whether you're taking a picture of the plate of food or whether you're tracking it. It gives you time to reflect and think about your food choices. And this is really positive, because it helps you make helps you make those food choices according to your goal, and also to be led by your habit-based targets. Now, your habit-based targets are there to support your goals. And part of group coaching is to build the habits and behaviors to support your goal. It's not just about staring at the scales, willing them to move, but not building the habits and behaviors to support your goal that have a byproduct of seeing that movement on the scales. So ask yourself, every time you prepare a meal, are you prioritizing protein? What is your protein source? It's your choice, it's your preference, whether it's animal-based or plant-based. What is your protein source? Are you having enough of it to hit that minimum protein requirement? You've been sent a nutrition information handbook giving you portion sizes and the amount of protein. So it's a really good idea just to revisit that document, so that you can see your portions and what portion sizes as a rough guide you need to be having. And obviously, if you have questions, you can ask them in the group chat. But are you prioritizing protein at each of your meals? Are you having a shit ton of vegetables, salad, or fruit in each of those meals, depending the meal type and your preferences? Are you adding plenty of veg, salad, or fruit? Remember, in this colder weather, if you don't fancy a salad, think about having vegetable soups, and you'll get your vegetables in, but in a soup format, and then you can add your protein and whatever else you're having in that meal alongside it. Adjust your meals accordingly to the climate. You want to eat nourishing meals that fill you up, that hit your habit-based goals and your nutrition targets. Think about also in your meals, you want to include a starchy carb. Your starchy carb is going to take no more than a space of a quarter on your plate. It is a good idea to reduce generally your carbohydrate portion. You can absolutely have carbs. They don't make you fat. We want to manage your overall food consumption, because we want to be in a calorie deficit. Eating too much is what leads to gaining weight. So you want to have more veg, salad or fruit, a little less carbs, and a very small amount of fats. I would recommend that you weigh your fats. Those of you who are tracking and using an app, please make sure you're weighing all your food for accurate tracking. Otherwise, what you're tracking is not a true and accurate representation. And where you're taking food photos, put a description of the meals that you're having. Weigh your fats if you're using them, oils, avocado, nuts, dressings. Think about making smart swaps to, from full fat dressings to reduced fat. Think about where you can save calories, because that's what you're trying to do when you want to go into a calorie deficit. Now, if you have a previous dieting history and you're used to skipping meals, or perhaps you are skipping meals regardless of your dieting history, recognize that it might not be serving you well. If you haven't been getting results and you're still skipping a meal, my question to you is to really reflect and think about, is it serving you? Is that helping you lose weight? I would encourage you to eat 3 meals a day. It will help you manage your hunger and regulate your appetite. You don't have to have breakfast at first thing in the morning when you wake up. You might have it a little delayed. Doesn't matter. Create your own meal timings, but eat every maximum 4 hours apart, 3 times a day. You will find you will snack less, you will feel more satiated, you will have more energy, and you will be able to adhere to your diet and your food choices so much better. And if you're struggling with this, please let me know. Now, a couple of questions. When you're working out, should you record your weights combined or singular? It is entirely up to you. Whichever you decide, you just stay consistent with it. So if you want to record, if you're using a set of 5 kilogram dumbbells, you can record them as 5. As long as you know and you're consistent with it. If you want to record that as 10, that's your choice. I would usually recommend with dumbbells that you record the singular weight. But if you're loading a bar, you can, like for a deadlift or something, you can use the total weight. But whatever you choose, just stay consistent with it. I'm making better choices, but not strict or consistent enough. So it's not about being strict. It's not about aiming to do things perfect, but you will need to be consistent. If you want to make progress, you will need to be consistent. Think less about getting on and off track, and think more about, this is your life. This is you living your life. You want to do the best you can in any given situation that you're in, and just to be as consistent as possible, not aiming for perfection, because unfortunately the flip side to perfection is quitting. And every time you quit, it's setting you back. So really, really encourage you to be as consistent as possible. A few of you have mentioned about your scales and the fluctuations. It's been a week of coaching. Focus more on your actions. Like I said earlier on in this podcast, focus on your actions. Tick your daily boxes. Tick your habit-based targets. Build consistency. Nail your nutrition. Hit your step target. Get your workouts in. These are your actions, and these are what you need to be focusing on. The scales are a byproduct of your actions. A question: how much interaction do we have besides the group chat? Remember, we are group coaching, and the best thing about group coaching is the community of women. The more you contribute and the more you put in, the more you'll get out. Some of you have been quiet on the group chat, and I understand not everyone is forthcoming, but embrace it. It is group coaching. If you are more of a type of person who prefers individual one-to-one communication, then this is what you get with one-to-one individual coaching. It is something you can switch to after the 6 weeks of Healthier and Happier in 6. But embrace the group coaching, contribute, put in, and you'll get a lot out. I post questions, tasks, reflections, information. I respond to every message that goes in that group chat. You have my daily support in there, but if you're not responding to my prompts, then you're not going to be benefiting from the group coaching. So really, really do take part as much as you can. Obviously, if there's anything sensitive that you don't want to put in the group chat, then of course that's fine. And if there is something that is sensitive and you really do want to talk to me about, then you can message me direct. But remember, group coaching is all about the group community. We have successfully got to the end of week 1. Week 1 is all about getting into the habit, getting familiar with the coaching app. understanding what is required of you. And as we go through coaching, you're going to be building momentum and consistency. So embrace the coaching process, enjoy it, take part, be part of it, and you will reap those rewards. Have a great rest of your day, and I will catch up with you soon.